Howdy, and welcome back to Dion Talk. I've talked about making this video a few times. My LLC rant. I have to be kind of careful when I make rants. I've only made two, so this makes three. I've had a few comments come out when I make rants where people say that I sound kind of mean and maybe a little condescending. So I want to be careful because it's never my intent to sound condescending. It's actually important for me to let everyone know that if you're watching my content, I'm still learning too. I'm just trying to share what I've figured out so far. So I definitely don't know everything, but I do know that I get really angry when the subject of LLCs comes up. I've actually said a few times that I don't want to make this video until I hit 10,000 subs.
But not today.
Now I'll count to three. Do you know who you're talking to? 1, 2.
Sometimes things just have a bigger impact when you do them before people expect you to. The reason I wanted to wait is because talking about a subject like this where I actually get angry, I'm going to let some emotion show when I'm talking. And it's going to sound like I'm angry. And I'm actually probably going to be angry. So I wanted to wait until I had 10,000 subscribers so that when I make a bunch of people mad because I express an opinion they might not like, and a bunch of people leave my channel, I want there to be some of us left. And at the end of this video, I am going to talk about the times it makes sense to have an LLC and the 3 things I do for asset protection. So I'm warning you, please don't watch this video if you don't like listening to somebody who's actually angry when they talk about the subject they're covering. Trigger warning. But I realized the mistake I was making by waiting. And I actually understand why it makes me so upset when I talk about this subject. Let me start with, first, I don't care if you have an LLC or if you don't have an LLC. I don't care if your reasons are real reasons or some made up BS you saw in a Facebook post or in a BiggerPockets forum. I don't care if you have an LLC. I don't care if you think you need a LLC. That's not what upsets me. My concern is I know that there are new investors out there, people who haven't bought their first rental property yet. They're not even starting on the steps to become investors. They're still in that information gathering stage. They haven't started to save. They haven't worked on their credit score. They haven't even talked to a lender yet. Literally the beginning steps of I want to invest in something and I need to do some research. So like most of us do, myself included, when we think of a new subject that we want to get involved in, and we're in that information gathering stage, we come to YouTube University, or we find communities like BiggerPockets and we go on the forums. And remember, I'm talking about somebody who hasn't even started investing yet. There's already so much to learn that sometimes just the learning is what stops that new investor in their tracks. Some people will call this analysis paralysis. So when people start looking into investing, sometimes the first things that they hear, make sure you have your LLC set up so you don't miss out on them tax benefits. Or almost exactly the same, people will hear something like, make sure you got that LLC set up so you don't get sued. So that person looking at investing sits back and thinks, since this is the first thing that they usually hear, I don't have an LLC. I can't invest yet. I need to make an LLC. I need to learn how to make an LLC. I need to name it. I need to understand all of the negative things it's going to do, like make lending harder. There's going to be a cost associated with making it. Just making the LLC, when there's already so much to learn, can be the barrier that stops a new investor from even getting started. And the thing that kills me is that having an LLC doesn't do any of the things that people keep telling new investors that you need an LLC for. Let's look at a couple of the common reasons why people say you need an LLC. And what are the odds that people say you need an LLC happen to be the same attorneys and CPAs who benefit and profit from creating them, maintaining them, renewing them, filing taxes on them? Astronomical odds. So weird. For the you don't want to get sued crowd. This may be hard to hear. Having an LLC is not going to stop you from getting sued. You are probably going to be sued if you invest in real estate. It's almost a certainty. Actually, having a LLC makes you more likely to get sued because people perceive a LLC as a business, and businesses have deeper pockets than a sole proprietor. At least that's a lot of people's perception. So please listen carefully. There is no asset protection from having an LLC unless you have partners. Recently, I was watching a Ken McElroy video, and I watch a lot of his content. I really like the dynamic of Ken with decades of experience and being an investor with a really big portfolio that I can almost not relate to. And then his co-host, I believe is his fiance or wife, who only has 3 rentals, and she still has that new investor mentality. So the conversation between them, I think, is a good dynamic. But he had a guest on his channel who was an attorney, and they were talking about asset protection. And I spent the first 4 minutes of that video getting frustrated and more frustrated and more frustrated because I kept expecting the attorney to say what I keep hearing. At some point, the attorney will say, you really need to have an LLC to protect your assets. Actually, there's an attorney that goes on Michael Zuber's channel on One Rental at a Time. I heard him this last Monday talking about the benefits of having an LLC if you own real estate. But in the Ken McElroy video, the attorney actually said something super smart around the 5-minute mark.
The problem here is that courts now disregard single member LLCs. Disregard single member LLCs.
This right here, what he just said, there is no asset protection with an LLC for a sole proprietor. When you get sued as a sole proprietor, all of your assets are yours. It doesn't matter how many LLCs you have. When you have to list out your assets, your LLCs are your assets. Piercing the veil is more and more common. And then for those people who think, I need an LLC because I want to get them tax benefits. Actually, I heard the attorney on Michael Zuber's channel talk about this too. He actually said the words, you want to make sure you have an LLC so that you could take advantage of the tax benefits, of which, in case you were curious, there are none, zero, nada, no tax benefits for having an LLC with rental properties. The attorney on Michael Zuber's channel said, if you have an LLC, you get to write off a home office. If you have a space in your house where you work on your rental properties and you have an LLC, you get to take a tax deduction for that space, which is true. I'll give him that. But it's the same deduction I get for that same space if I don't have an LLC. That write-off exists because I'm a sole proprietor, not because I have an LLC. He then said, if you have an LLC, you can also write off meals, which I'll give him is true. Just like I can write off meals without having an LLC. You see, the courts aren't the only people who disregard LLCs.
Disregard single member LLCs.
The IRS actually officially calls a LLC a disregarded entity, meaning it has no impact on what you can write off whatsoever. Then the guest on One Rental at a Time said, if you have an LLC, you look more like a business, so that's good for your taxes. Remember, looking like a business makes us more likely to get sued. Looking like a business makes us more likely to be audited. Yay! Lawsuit and audit, just what I want for my rental properties. The mistake I was making was waiting to make this video until I hit 10,000 subs. It's not happening quickly, which means that every day past, there is some new investor that wasn't hearing the details and nuances of why you don't need an LLC when you're starting out with real estate. And my mom always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, speak clearly. I actually really hope that you share this video with somebody when you see the should I have an LLC or should I not have an LLC question pop up in one of the Facebook groups or on the BiggerPockets forums. As the content creator, I'm not allowed to share this video in those formats, but you can. So when you see the question pop up and you see all of the people saying all of the made up BS of all the reasons why you need an LLC that just don't exist, please share this video with them. There are no tax benefits and there is no asset protection for a sole proprietor. I said what I said. At the beginning of this video, I said I was going to talk about the times it makes sense to have an LLC and the 3 things I do for asset protection. It makes sense to have an LLC if you have partners. The idea of an LLC is to protect you from someone else's mistakes. If you need to use commercial lending or hard money, commercial lending, like if you already have your 10 mortgages in your name and you need commercial loans to grab the next rental, or you're buying 5 units or more, so you can't use conventional loans, it makes sense. Those lenders are going to often require a LLC for that loan product. So it makes sense. And this one I don't really agree with, but I can kind of see it. I can try to put myself in someone else's shoes. There is a little bit of anonymity if you have an LLC. So if there was some reason why you didn't want your name on the rentals and you didn't want people to know that you own properties, you can use an LLC to kind of distance yourself from there. But if you're sued, it isn't going to protect you. Any attorney who's not asleep and was smart enough to go to school, get the degree, pass the bar, and become an attorney is going to take a 5-minute internet search to figure out who owns the LLC. And if you really need that much distance, what are you hiding? So like I said, there are some times where it makes sense to have an LLC, but asset protection and tax benefits aren't them. All of my properties are in my name. And here's what I do for asset protection. There are really 3 main things that I do. The first one is insurance. I have property insurance on each property. And I am going to make a video describing what I do for property insurance.
But not today.
But I want $300,000 on each property for what is called slip, fall, or injury protection. So personal injury coverage. Then I have full replacement value on the property. At 4 properties, I picked up an umbrella policy. $2 million in coverage for about $550 a year. I could have done this when I hit 3 properties, but I waited till 4. So live and learn. I don't think you need an umbrella when you only have 1 property, but when you have more assets that you can lose, this is when an umbrella policy is good because that $2 million in coverage kicks in if a lawsuit happens on one of my properties that goes above the $300,000 in injury, then the umbrella policy is triggered. The second form of asset protection that I use is leverage. I have mortgages on almost all of my properties, putting the bank in first position. So they're not going to get that asset because the bank has first right to it. And the third thing that I do for asset protection is fix things, be proactive, do walkthroughs, listen to your handyman when they say that there's a safety issue, take tenant complaints seriously and respond to safety issues quickly. Be proactive. Those are the 3 forms of asset protection that will give you the best chance of actually keeping your assets, because an LLC is not going to stop you from getting sued. It's probably going to make you more likely to be sued. And it doesn't separate your assets if you don't have partners. I think I'm doing pretty good at keeping my emotional level down because this actually frustrates me because I know it's costing new investors hundreds of thousands of dollars and time in the market. Hopefully you know the statement of time in the market beats timing the market. So if somebody's waiting or delaying investing because they think they need to make an LLC, they're losing money. That's why I get angry. The whole purpose of my content is to help investors reach financial freedom. And delaying that because of something they don't actually need frustrates me. So do me a favor, in the comments below, let me know if you'd like to see more rant videos where I let some emotion show, or if you'd like me to take down the ones I have up now. And remember, I don't care if you have an LLC. If it helps you sleep well at night, great. I'm concerned about that new investor who currently doesn't even have a rental and doesn't need an LLC to get investing. It's going to make their interest rate higher. It's going to make their loan product worse. It's going to make their insurance possibly cost more. Some municipalities require you to have an S corp, which adds a fee. Some states, if you have rentals in an LLC, require a business license, which also has another fee. And again, I'm reminded of the fact that the people who are usually pushing for you to have LLCs are the attorneys and CPAs who benefit from those LLCs existing. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me during this rant. If you'd like to see a video where I talk about how I actually used more debt to get out of bad debt and reach financial freedom, here's the video for you now. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Make sure you have your LLC set up so you don't get sued. Oh my more time because I'll beep right in the middle of it.
Oh no, I was trying not to walk in when you were talking. I thought I heard a dull moment.
It's always dull when I'm talking. Make sure you have your LLC set up because you don't want to miss out on all the tax benefits. Make sure you have that LLC set up so you don't get sued.